Hey guys, welcome back. We're on day 3 of this BC Online Challenge, our Unity Challenge. My name is Thomas.
And I'm George, guys. How are you?
So hopefully you're feeling good after day 1 session and day 2 session. And if you're just joining us, don't worry about it. Just start today. Don't worry about trying to make up the workouts. It's not about that. Start where you are and let's just continue on in this journey. All right, so today we have a build session. That's a strength session. We're gonna work on building a little bit more lean toned muscle, preserve the muscle we have and not lose it. And again, week 1 is the preparation week. So this week we're just building our foundation. We're just getting started before we really start next Monday. Okay, for today's session, George and I are going to do the first round with you. I'm going to demonstrate one version, he's going to demonstrate a different version, and we might switch it up in between that to give you some ideas of different progressions or regressions that you can do. And then second, we are going to be doing the second round where it's a little bit more instructional to give you feedback, a little pointers about what to do, what to squeeze, what to tense up, where to breathe, and positional cues as well. All right, so we're going to start off with your first 2 exercises. I hope you're ready, you're warmed up. A1 is going to be an isometric push-up, and A2 is going to be a step-up. George is going to perform an isometric push-up where he's just going to be holding and pushing the earth together. So imagine the push-up position. Actually, for set 1, we'll do instructional and then we'll actually do it. Makes more sense. It's better if you face them, George. So as you can see, George in this position, his hands are on the ground in the push-up position, but what he's going to be doing is he's going to bend his elbows slightly and he's going to pretend he's crumpling up the earth underneath him. He's pushing his hands together. You can't tell right now, but George's little pecs are squeezing as hard as they can towards each other. He's flexing as hard as he can, pushing towards each other. That's called an isometric contraction. Relax, George. That's called an isometric contraction. We talked about this. It's another form of contraction to improve strength. Now, I'm going to be doing a version where I'm going to hold that as well for 30 seconds, but maybe immediately after it, I'm going to go into either eccentric push-ups for a total of 10 reps, or I'm going to go into basic strength push-ups with a tempo of 2 to 2, or maybe even 2 seconds down and 1 second up for explosive. So, if we are a beginner level, you're fine with just squeezing that isometric contraction, flexing your chest for 30 seconds, okay? And if you're more advanced, you're going to squeeze that together for 30 seconds. And because you're a tough guy or a gal, you're going to do an extra 10 reps of push-ups, making sure you choose which cadence works for you. 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up is a little bit more endurance. 2 seconds down, 1 second up is a little bit more strength and explosiveness. It's up to you. Second one is the step up. So for the step up, I'm using a higher surface, which is a chair. George is using the box, okay? A little bit lower. So if I have some knee concerns, I might want to use a lower box. If I don't have any knee concerns, I might want to use this. And again, when it comes to intensity, you can modulate the intensity by controlling your tempo. So George could just stand up quickly, boom! Fast twitch muscle fibers, really great for strength, really great for explosiveness, and lower slowly, really great for strength as well as building muscle, okay? Or he could do a slow controlled tempo on the way up, slow and controlled, and slow and controlled tempo on the way down. Good. That's great for coordination and for building stability if you're a beginner and you don't have coordination right now. You could do that on the low box. You could also do that on the high box. We'll be doing different variations of that. You choose what you would like to do. Okay, so we're going to get started with the push-up. George is going to do the full push-up version. I'm going to do them on my knees, a more beginner version, and we are going to be pushing our hands together for 30 seconds. Are we ready? And 3, 2, 1, and go. Counting backwards. 10, 9. Keep squeezing together. 6, 5. Push the earth together. 3, 2, and 1. All right. So if you noticed, George did a completely different exercise. He didn't follow the instructions.
We did do a push-up.
You're supposed to do isometric push-up.
All right.
You're gonna do full isometric push-up, and then maybe they could go into a push-up afterwards, guys. I apologize. You try to make fun of me. So if you notice, I did a modified version, just squeezing the earth together. I did it on my knees because it reduces the body weight. You could do a full version, again, together like we demonstrated, and push the earth, bend your elbows, and keep squeezing the earth together. And then once you finish, then go into the push-ups. George? All right. So that's for the first set. Now we're going to go into our step-ups. Same thing, no isometrics on this though. So we're going to start from the top in this position. George is going to start from the bottom, and we are going to do a total of 12 reps. You're going to follow 12 reps as well. So I'm going to lower slowly because I want to preserve more muscle mass and I want to build more muscle. George is going to go for stability. So I'm going slowly on the way down because eccentric training really helps with building more muscle. But I'm going to come up quickly to really work those fast twitch muscle fibers. Performing it this way, you'll fatigue pretty quickly. And you could do the version that George is doing as well. A moderate pace. Notice he takes his foot off of the box each time, whereas I keep mine on the box. His version is a little more foundational, where my version is a little bit more advanced. All right, because it keeps tension on the thigh throughout that entire motion. All right, that was A1, that was A2. Finish your sets. You're going to be doing, if you are a beginner, 1 to 3 sets. If you are more advanced and you want volume, because you really need to get a lot more out of this, 4 to 5 sets. Now, repetitions are a total of 12 across the board for everybody. Now, B1, B2, we're going to check that out right now, but pause this, finish your sets, and then start this video up again, listen to your music, rock on, stay motivated. All right, back to B1 and B2. The first one is called a plank rear delt raise, right? A plank reverse fly. You might have seen us do this before. The second one is in single leg RDL. A little bit more advanced, but you could do this with the assistance of a chair. So for the first one, the plank rear delt, George is going to demonstrate. Body a little bit. Yeah, perfect. All right. So right now, George is on his knees. He's in that half push-up position. His body is nice and straight. His butt's not all the way up in the air somewhere. Now what George is going to do in this position, he's going to start with his hands close together. Now with his hands are close together, he is going to reverse fly or raise that arm out to the side, squeezing his rear delt here, and squeezing his back together. And he's going to transition on the other side and squeeze. He's going to come back and squeeze. Now George could also do this off of his knees. He's going to come off of his knees and he's going to do the same thing. Now his goal is to squeeze and stay really tight in his core, trying not to shift his hips side to side. If you don't have equipment at home, this is what the version would look like. You could add equipment to this. So you could add a pair of dumbbells in your hand or have one dumbbell right in the center and pull the dumbbell right across your body. We're going to grab that dumbbell for George because George doesn't like to pretend he's doing something. Right, George?
Yep. 15 pounds, really?
So George is now going to grab with one side and pull it straight out. And he's going to reach the dumbbell across his body so he can stretch out the back of his arms, okay? If he wants to intensify, he's gonna stick with one side. He's gonna stay on one side now. He's only gonna do this side. That increases the intensity, guys. All right. Another way for George to do this, if you don't have a dumbbell at home, is to use a band. Just messing around. It's for the camera.
Yeah, sure.
All right. You can do it to me too.
Uh-huh.
All right. So he's going to get down back in that position. Okay. Now, if you notice, he has about shoulder width distance on the band. It's not too tight. He's going to get back up into that high plank, or you could be in that low position with the knees on the floor. And he is going to do a reverse fly, holding on to the band on one side while pulling it apart. He's going to stick to that side, and he's going to pull apart, okay? All right, guys, so you have different variations. You choose which variation you want to do for this, all right? Now, second exercise is the RDL. The RDL without any assistance looks like this. I'm going to balance on one leg, and I'm going to hinge on this hip, pretending that I'm a little teapot spilling over. I gotta bring this back leg up as high as I can, and I'm straightening that back leg out as much as I possibly can. It's straight, I'm lowering, I'm lowering, I'm lowering. Look at that. Slight bend in the knee. Oh my God, look at that form, George. All right, when I do that, I feel that stretch in the hamstring back here. Oh man, look at that, George. All right, so George is going to do a version where he's assistant. He has an assistance right here with the chair. So if you're at home, you will want to do this with the chair. And if you are able to do it without the chair, that's perfect, but it'd be great if you were standing over there so they could see the side view. So we're going to start off with our RDLs, and then we're going to go to our reverse planks. We're going to do a total of 12 on each side. You can reach towards the floor. Now, one way to do it is really fast, the way George is doing it. Another way to do it is slow and controlled. Take your time. When you do this, what are you looking to feel? You're looking to feel the hamstrings stretch a bit. Okay? Not overdo it. Don't underdo it. Make sure it's just right. The other aspect of this is, let's demonstrate this. If you're facing forward, you'll be able to see that whenever George tilts into the RDL, sometimes what people will do is they will open the body up to reach. We don't want you to open the body up. You got to keep the hip down. So let's continue with the right leg traveling back slowly. George keeps that hip down. Okay? If you can move your arm out to the side so they can see the front of the hip. He keeps the hip. There should be a pin going through both hips straight through so that they're in alignment. If not, what will happen is, go ahead, do it the wrong way. George will open that hip up, and that's a problem. So when you find yourself going through the motion and you're down here and you're opening up, turn the hip down when you're down there and reach. All right, excellent. Now we're going to go into the plank reverse fly. George is going to do variation with the dumbbell. I'm going to do variation with the band.
Dude, relax.
This guy. And I'm just going to hold it like this. This is a good time for us to mention, if you have any wrist complications, something you definitely need to order, George is going to put on these bands here, these wrist wraps. These wrist wraps are really great, as you can see. George, if you could show them. There's a thumb loop here. George is going to put this right around the thumb, and then he's going to wrap it around the wrist. You get to decide how tight you wrap it, but you know your body. So you could really secure your wrist on a lot of these movements that feel uncomfortable, like planks and push-ups. Now I could perform some of these motions and not have as much stress. I could even sometimes do a push-up with the knuckles, with the wraps, to provide more support. Okay? Be careful because it might cut off your circulation a little bit if you wrap it too tight. Okay, so we're gonna do our plank reverse flies. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the fist formation. That's okay for me to do. If I was not okay in this position with the wrist for the reverse flies, unfortunately, you would have to have equipment in this case a band, where you pin the one side down and pull it apart. Pin one side and pull that side apart from each other, or you could pull them both apart at the same time for your reverse flies. But we're gonna do this version. You choose yours. All right, we're gonna do a total of 12 on each side. Ready? And begin. 12. We'll cut it short. Wow. George is cheating, guys.
I'm evening it out.
Not nice. All right. George finished this because he tried to cheat. All right. So now what you're going to do is pause the video, come back when you're ready to do C1 and C2 with us. Remember, beginner, you're doing 1 to 3 sets. A little bit more advanced, you're doing 4 to 5 for that volume. Now, C1, C2. C1 is a serratus type of shoulder push, all right? Really like this exercise. We're gonna do 2 different versions of this. I'm going to do the advanced version. George is gonna do the foundational version, okay? George is gonna demonstrate the foundational version. He's gonna start off in what is called, come forward a little bit, George. A little bit more. Awesome. He's gonna start off in what's called a quadruped position. Quadruped meaning he's on all 4s, okay? Now, it's also called a beast position or a bear position. What he's gonna do is he's gonna tuck his toes under, he's gonna bring his knees off of the floor, and from this position, he's going to drive his tailbone to the corner, pushing back, working his serratus underneath here and his shoulders. And then he's gonna come back into beast position. Right. Push back. Now, you're gonna move carefully. You're gonna move carefully and really push back. Good. Excellent. All right. Now, if you notice, what can happen sometimes is you can get out of position, but what's important is to always return to that beast position with your knees underneath your hip. Let's show them that one more time because you came out of position, George. I'm not trying to... Okay, knees forward, knees forward. Bring your knees forward, sir. Okay, we're not on the same page here. There we go, all right. Now, this is the beast position, okay? Hips are over. He's gonna bring the knees up slightly. He's gonna push straight back. Right, and now he's gonna bring the knees back forward, okay? He came forward too much, so knees underneath hips, okay? Right here, push back from that position, push back. Back to quadruped position, right there, not too much forward. Push back again, back to quadruped position. All right, good. So if you guys notice, that is a position that's sometimes difficult. You'll come out of the position and try to come back to beast position, but you'll be all out of whack. Make sure you are in that position, quadruped. You push your body back as much as you can, sending your tailbone up as high as you can, and then come back to beast position. Knees are off the floor. Push, send your hips back, push through your shoulders, reach, and then come back to beast position. And push away from the floor. Don't let your body sink down. All right, second version of that. For some of you that want to feel a little bit more of a challenge in your shoulders, to work your shoulders a smidge, we are going to get into
a similar beast position. Okay, but we need to be inverted almost. Butt is, send your butt up high. Don't push the chair over, be careful. Okay, so don't be too far in the box. Tuck your chin down, elbows are in tight. Lower head towards the floor and push straight up.
Okay? So that is a more complicated version, so we can work the shoulders through that motion. George did the base version of it. I'm going to do this version of it. We're going to go for 12 reps. When it comes to tempo, anything that's a new exercise, take your time. And when you are comfortable with it, then you're going to shoot for a tempo of slow and controlled on the way down and pretty quick on the way back. But until you get the hang of it, slow and controlled. 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up, 3 seconds down, 2 seconds up is more than fine. So we're going to do our set of 12. We're not going to cut it short this time.
Forgot the second one, buddy. C2.
Nice. All right, C2, guys. C2, y'all. All right, so we're going to do an adductor movement here. I'll demonstrate this one because there's a lot of different variations. I want you guys to be careful with this. The very regressed version of this is you're going to sit in a chair where you have about 90 degrees here and a nice 90-degree angle here, right? So you don't want to be sitting in something a little too high or sitting too low. All you're going to do is if you don't have like a small soccer ball or a basketball or a squishy ball at home, is you're going to take your 2 fists like this. You're going to put them together like so. Put them on the inside of your thigh, scoot your feet in, and you are going to squeeze and release. Okay, so we're working our groin muscles, our adductors a smidge, but we're going to do a much more advanced version of this for some of you guys that feel comfortable with it. And it's going to look like this. I'm going to get down into the ground. I'm going to get into half plank position. When I'm in half plank position, I need to push my body away from the floor. I'm going to put this top foot onto the chair. And the bottom foot, I need to give a little bit of space away from this. So the chair will support my shin and my feet a bit. You can put a pillow underneath the feet, shin area on top of the chair so it doesn't hurt you too much. Now, 3 different variations that we're going to do. Variation number 1. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I'm so happy to have this dirty towel underneath touching my bare skin. Now, from this position, I'm going to push and pull using my adductor. I'm pulling and pushing through my shoulder. Okay? So this is what's working. This is what's working. Core's working here. But I'm gently holding on with this foot. So I can either keep the shin down and pull through. All of this is connected. That's version 1. Version 2 is get my knee off and only my foot is on. Version 3 is get my foot off and just hold. Version 4 is to drop and drive. Drop and drive. Woo! Felt that, George. All right. So here's what we're going to do now. C1, we're doing our serratus shoulder press. C2, we're doing our adductor hip drop, okay? So let's start off with that serratus shoulder press. George is going to be right back here. I'm going to be right up here. I'm going to do my version. He's going to do his version. Can they see you? You know what? I'll go to the back. You'll go to the front. Here we go. All right. My hips up are high. I'm not too deep in that box. I'm going to do a total of 12 reps carefully. All right. George has more to do. Oh, you went off camera so they can't see if you're doing it correctly, huh?
It's always good.
Yeah, okay. All right. Second one we're going to do, guys. is I'm going to do the adductor hip drop. George is going to grab a seat, maybe the bench back there, and he's going to do the inner thigh squeeze in a seated position. All right. Now, for me, this is a bit of a tough one. So if this is your first time doing it, just feel this out when it comes to repetitions. I don't like making a prescription for a specific number of reps because you might not be able to make it to those repetitions. And for a movement like this, it could be too dangerous for you to try to. So I'd rather you stay on the low end when it comes to this. Let's shoot for 6 on each side here. If you're doing George's version, you could do on the higher end 15 to 20 reps since it is the most foundational version and you're not going to do a lot of damage with that. Okay? So we're going to start off. We're going to do 6 reps of the full version and ready. Now, I'm going to do the other side. If you are comfortable doing 12 because your adductors are awesome, then go for it. I'm doing 6. All right. Now here's what's important. When you're doing that exercise, these muscles are very fragile. They can be very sensitive because they don't get a lot of love. Take your time. Sometimes the repetitions can be too much. It's okay if you just hold for an isometric contraction in that position. So you might want to just work on basic strength there. Remember that word, isometric. You could come up here and put tension there and hold. And eventually you can come up here, keep that tension, hold for 30 seconds. Then eventually just hold this for 30 seconds. And then get to the point where you're doing the concentric contractions like I did for a total of 6 reps. All right, guys. Pause the video. I want you to do your 1 to 3 sets for 12 reps. On this particular motion, you're doing 6 on each side to start. And that motion that George demonstrated, you're doing 15 to 20 reps of those pulsing contractions. When it comes to the serratus push-up, I want you to shoot for 12 reps on that. All right, pause the video, finish what you're doing, and then let's move on to D1 and D2. All right, welcome back. So we're gonna move on to D1 and D2. D1, we are starting with dips, but I have an alternative for you guys that feel a little uncomfortable in the wrists. And then we're going to do D2, which is a glute kickback. You will need a pillow or several towels to place down on your chair to accomplish the glute kickback. Okay, so for D1, we've done this before. We're both going to demonstrate our versions of our dip. I'm going to do the short version. George might do the deeper version. So you're going to be doing 12 reps of the dip. My short version is just right here. I'm going to push up and flex the back of my triceps. George is comfortable with going deeper. I don't feel comfortable going deeper because I want to take care of my shoulder because I've had some shoulder injuries in the past. So I'm just going partial, okay? Flexing those triceps. Now because I'm going partial reps, I can do more. So I'm going to shoot for 15 to 20 of these and I'm going to move slowly on the way down to really have a greater amount of tension on my triceps. George can apply those same exact strategies in the deeper version. He could go slow on the way down and come up with control. This is one movement though, you do not want to have jerky motion where you're like, yeah, and snapping around all over the place, okay? 1, that's just stupid. 2, it's very unsafe because that's just stupid. Anyway, So I do the partial reps, George was doing the full reps. We're gonna take our time going through the controlled motion. I'm gonna do 15 to 20 because mine are partial. George could stick to the 12 rep prescription that we have for today. Number 2 is a glute kickback with both legs. You are going to need a chair like this, okay? If you don't have a chair like this, you could also use a stability ball of some sort, or maybe even the corner of a bench. George is going to demonstrate in the corner of the bench. I'm going to demonstrate on the chair, okay? I'll demonstrate first with this. I'll do mine first, and then he'll demonstrate with his. Now, I'm going to lay over the chair, and I've got to adjust myself in a position where the edge of the chair is not going to dig into my nether regions. Now, what I want you to do, put a pillow underneath here, put several towels underneath here. You're going to hold on to the bottom of the chair. You have to be in the right position here, or else you're going to tip the chair over. And all you're going to do is push out and squeeze. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tense up those abs. 7,
12.
8, 9, 10, 11.
Hold it.
Oh, now let me tell you something, guys. That was tough, and let me tell you why it was tough. Because I didn't have a nice little pillow to protect my organs. I want you to use a pillow so it's not so jarring on your organs. Now, because of that, though, it made me tense my abs up really hard. So maybe that's what you want to go for. But be careful. I don't want you to end up with some bruised ribs or a bruised anything, and then you run out there and tell everybody, I'm the one who told you to do it. So George is at the end of his bench. He's holding underneath the bench, bracing his abs also. George does have the comfort of the bench, but it's not that comfortable, okay? All right, he's doing all 12 reps. He pushes it out until his body is completely straight. Do not use this on an unstable surface. Do not use this on a device that is not stable. I repeat that. Do not use this on a device that is not stable. Now, another version that you can do at home, if both of those are not an option. Maybe you tried the chair and you're like, how the hell did he do that? Because your chair keeps tipping over. Don't stress yourself out with that. Just do the base version, which is more than enough. But it's the intention you have to have behind this base version in order to get the benefit out of it. So you're going to be in this position right here. You are going to bring the knees off the floor. Remember, our beast position, knees are off the floor, and you are going to push and squeeze your glute as hard as you can for 3 seconds, and then come back. Push, 3, 2, squeeze, and back. That's the version without the bench, without the chair. Why are you laughing?
Why are you screaming?
Okay? I want to emphasize the intention that they need to have in this. Next version you can use with the bands is I'm going to put this underneath the arch of my feet, and my feet are at least shoulder width apart or more, okay? Then I'm going to turn sideways, and then from this position, having it in my hand, I'm going to squat, get to the floor, come out a little bit more, set up in my beast position, and I'm going to push, push. All right? You're going to do a total of 12 reps on each side, all right? I don't want to hear it. Beautiful. So that was D1, that's D2. But wait, if D1 was a little complicated because the triceps are the aim of this specific goal, of this specific exercise, but it's hurting your wrist, what I want you to do is think of this for a second. Let's have a little one-on-one time. Get a long towel. You have to have a good amount of distance here. What you're going to do is when you set up, when you start, is you need one arm fully extended, one arm is fully bent and pulled into the chest. Can you see that? Think of it as like drawing the strings on a bow to let go. And, you know, if you're a hunter out there, an archer, that would make sense. But that's what it's going to look like, okay? You're pushing this out. Now what you're going to do, though, is you're going to push and give up the other side a little bit, but you have to resist. So it is a game of push and pull between the two. So you're going to push, resist on your left side, push on your right side. Now push on your left side, resist on your right side through that entire motion. And ooh, that's a good one. All right, if you do this properly, you will really feel the effects of that. And your tricep, ooh, look at that.
What are you doing?
That was just
Oh
four,
my God.
that was just what, 3 or 4 reps, and I've already developed triceps. All right, guys, come on in, George, come on in. We want you to do the same at home, okay? We want you to do the same at home. So 1 to 3 sets if you are working on foundation, 4 to 5 for volume if you're advanced and you need to keep that muscle or you want to try to build some more. Remember, slow the movement down to build more lean tone muscle. 2 to 2 ratio if you want more neuromuscular coordination in your movements, stability in your movements, safety in your movements as well. And then base level of tempo for some exercises for people that want fast twitch development, develop the fast twitch muscle fiber and basic strength, 2 seconds down and 1 second up on certain movements, unless we indicated otherwise, okay? For the majority of the reps, we're looking at 12 reps, unless I've indicated something different for a specific reason. That is today's build session. Take your time through it. Hashtag BC Online Challenge, please. Tag me, I am Master T on Instagram. Tag me on Facebook. Tag this guy. What's your handle on Instagram?
Coach G, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. All right, awesome. And at BodyCultureORG, take a picture of your workout if you can. If you have me projected on an iPad or a screen, take a picture of that with some of your weights or your equipment kind of showing. Post it on your Insta story, tag us to it so we know that you're doing it. Stay motivated, stay on this exercise, unity, immunity high. We're coming back to you later with another lesson. Get to it.